Well, at the festival next year we have two really big new things. The first is we're having mobile as a section. So mobile advertising, mobile work has been part of the festival for many years, part of the cyber category, but we're now making it its own section. It'll have its own president, its own jury. So that will be a very interesting development, I think, to see what happens within mobile. And the other big thing is that we have a new section for branded entertainment, so branded content. So that's TV shows, movies, music, anything that's not pure advertising, but is actually content-driven, entertainment-driven, with a brand behind it. So they're two of the big new things that we're doing. This year we had 50,000 people attend the seminars. That means that each person went on average to 5 of the seminars. So this is very, very different. And I think there are two reasons really, maybe three reasons. The first is the speakers are now very high profile, very famous speakers, very interesting speakers. And that has improved over the years, so that's one reason. Another reason is in the crisis of 2009, I think that people, if they were lucky enough to go to Cannes, then they had to go to learn and to work and to be in the seminars. And that has continued since that troubled time. But probably the most important reason is that the industry right now is so confusing for so many people. It's changing so fast that people need to be able to come and hear speakers talk about what the future might hold, and they need to be able to discuss that. And so the content and the learning has become a much, much bigger part of the festival now, and I think that's the reason. Yes, Europe, of course, is having a difficult time. I think what we found in the last crisis, which was only 2 years ago, was that the quality of the work actually remained very, very high. That's because I think marketers and clients, they understand they need even more creativity and even more clever thinking in order to do the work they have to do in a crisis. Because in good times, you know, it's a little bit easier, and in bad times it's more difficult to create advertising or communications that really will make a difference. So actually the quality of the work has remained incredibly high, and I think this year even more people will realize the importance of creativity in their communications, because without that there's so many channels and so much confusion in the market that you can't win unless you're producing really creative work. Well, it's a good question. I mean, it's called Cannes Lions, so we'd have to call it something else. Sao Paulo Lions, maybe? So the name, of course, is linked to the city. Having said that, there have been events in Cannes who have moved. A very large mobile conference called GSM was in Cannes for many, many years and did move to Barcelona. So there are cases where this has happened. I think we have a long way to grow before we have to do that, but if we had to move, then of course we would have to move and we would go to a different city, but I think that's a long way off. People like going to Cannes as well. Yes, I mean brands and advertisers now make up 20% of the delegates who come to Cannes. And last year we had more than 400 client organizations come to Cannes. All the big ones within, you know, the big global ones, but also many, many local clients as well. I think they're coming partly because of the confusion in the market. There's so much confusion and they need to understand the way forward and what the future holds. They're also coming to see the great work and to be inspired by wonderful work from around the world. But I think most importantly what they've realized, it's almost like all the clients have realized all at the same time that they have to be very creative in the way that they approach their marketing. The old days have gone, and to understand digital, to understand social media, to understand the different ways that you can create content, and to understand the relationships between agencies, clients, digital people. Very confusing world, and I think they need to be there to produce the best possible work. I think that's why they come. Well, there are two things. The first is that there is a limit to the number of points that you can receive from the shortlist. So there's a maximum number of points, and the reason for that is to stop people trying to get as many points from the shortlist as possible. This is something we changed 5 or 6 years ago. So there's a maximum you can get from the shortlist. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if there is an agency that wins many shortlists in lots of different sections, in a way that makes them a stronger agency than somebody who wins a Grand Prix, 2 golds and a silver, because they have a much broader spread. So actually to win Agency of the Year is very difficult, because you need to either be very good in many things or incredibly good in a small number of things. We do look at the Agency of the Year and change the rules quite regularly. Last year we changed the rules to include not only press, radio, TV, cinema, but also integrated and digital. And so we're trying to make it really representative of the very best agency in the world. And I think what was very interesting last year was that ALMAP BBDO, even though we had changed the rules to include integrated and cyber, they still won Agency of the Year, which I think shows what a fantastic agency they are. The truth is that the number of entries that you enter into Cannes does not influence how successful you are. Because if you look at the analysis and the statistics, last year there was one agency in Germany who entered 11 pieces. They won 8 Lions with 11 pieces. There was another agency who entered 150 pieces and did not get a shortlist. So it's not about the number, it's about the quality of what you enter. Well, social causes are a huge and growing part of all kinds of communication. It's become very important to many brands that they have a social purpose. Procter & Gamble and Unilever and big companies talk about this a lot. And the Grand Prix for Good was a way for us to try to give a big prize to charity work. So that's been a real success, and it's celebrated some wonderful work. On the other hand, there are also many brands who are creating work that is doing their own brand good while also doing good. Nike won a Grand Prix for Chalkbot, and that was for a cancer foundation. This is becoming very common now, and with brands aligning themselves to good causes.